right here is without a doubt the dumbest thing I have ever heard. And that says a lot, especially in this day and age.
The campaign promise fulfilled. Mayor Brandon Johnson is ending the city's use of the controversial gunfire surveillance system known as ShotSpotter. The city's contract with the company behind ShotSpotter expires on Friday, and the police will stop using the technology September 22nd, about a month after the Democratic National Convention. A city statement said, moving forward, Chicago will deploy its resources on the most effective strategies and tactics proven to accelerate the current downward trend in violent crime. For years, grassroots organizations targeted shots.
So basically what Mayor Brandon Johnson is doing here is he is telling you that he's going to be siding with the criminals rather than the people who actually live, don't commit crimes, and actually just going about their business in the city of Chicago. But don't worry, we'll talk about that in this video. So woke mayor of Chicago, Brandon Johnson, has decided to get rid of this piece of technology that law enforcement uses in the city of Chicago. By the way, the city of Chicago is down 2,000 officers, a lot like New York, who's about to be down a lot of officers, especially given the fact that they have cut the next 5 recruiting classes, or the next 5 NYPD classes, meaning that you've probably got maybe 500 or 600 police officers, potential police officers in each recruiting class that's came up that will not be patrolling the streets of New York. And of course, the sanitation department has been cut. And of course, Chicago, as I just mentioned, they're down 2,000 officers. So the thing that really bugs me here is that, so you're going to be down 2,000 police officers, and yet you think it's a good idea to get rid of this technology that helps out in identifying shootings. Very odd, especially given the fact that the city of Chicago is like the murder capital of the world, especially when we get to the summer. However, this story right here is a lot more nuanced than you might would think. So make sure you guys stick around for the full video because we've actually got a lot to go into. Now, before we get to the actual story, I need to go ahead and say this. There's a Daily Mail article that recently came out. And of course, we have documented Chicago, we've documented New York, we've documented the migrant crisis. I've talked to you guys about exactly what's going on in this city, what's going on with actual voters themselves, with black voters too, especially those who see certain benefits being given to one race or one class of people coming in. And of course, these people are saying, hey, look, we're actual American citizens. We're here working. We're not getting very many hours. We kind of need the assistance right now. And of course, they're seeing migrants getting a lot more benefits than themselves. However, the point of this video here, and of course the Daily Mail article, was talking about certain areas of Chicago, especially South Chicago, turning purple. We'll get to that more towards the end. But before we get into this, I need to go ahead and ask this question to you guys, and please leave a comment in the comment section. Who do you think that a lack of police bothers the most? Who do you think it bothers the most? Who do you think it affects the most? Chances are it affects poor people. Now, I have said this, and I'm going to continue to say this every time we talk about defund the police or a lack of police officers in the area. Many people love to throw out the whole point of defund the police was about reforming the police department and cutting certain assets and making sure the cops couldn't do certain things that they have to do. However, as I have said before, defund the police is dumb for a multitude of reasons. The main reason why it was dumb is because in order for EMS and fire departments to do their jobs, especially do their jobs efficiently, safe, and of course in certain neighborhoods, police have got to be there on the scene to secure the scene. That's the main reason why it is you don't want to defund your police department. However, this shop spotting technology, I think, is a little bit more important than people might would think. Now, before we fully get to this shop spotting, this shot spotting technology, or Mayor Brandon Johnson not renewing the contract on it, I need to go ahead and show you guys something really quick. Roughly about 1 minute and 49 seconds. This doesn't have to do with actual shootings, but I want you to think about this because I'm using it to kind of convey over to you guys exactly what it's like being inside of a neighborhood where shootings don't get reported.
It's like there is this white car here with the driver's side window open. That is a story from many of the cars affected. The driver's side window was smashed in. And then you can see this couple here as well, trying to remove some of the damage from their car from when those windows were smashed in. We talked to them earlier this morning as well, and they were very, very shocked when they first came out here. But if we pan down the street, which you're going to see as well, and our photojournalist Aaron is getting there, you're going to see this black car here. window also smashed in. There's a white car in front of it, window also smashed in. This is the story for several cars down this block. But let me give you a closer view of what we're seeing. Take a look at this video here. You're going to see this notice. It's a car break-in notice from Chicago police. It's basically to alert drivers whose vehicles were broken into. Chicago police say 20 to 25 cars were smashed in. They tell us a witness saw 3 guys get out of a black sedan near 16th and Indiana, again at 2 this morning. The suspects then started shattering the driver's side windows of those nearby vehicles that were legally parked, by the way. It's not clear if anything was stolen at this point, but we spoke to a driver. Again, we showed you that couple earlier, and they tell us the suspects rummaged through their car looking for valuables because everything inside was thrown around.
My boyfriend goes to work, literally leaves around 5:50 every morning to go to work. And then I see it on the news, over 20 cars in South Loop got like jacked. I call him, I'm like, hey, how's your car? And he literally is like, yeah. No.
Okay, that right there ran for 1 minute and 49 seconds, and it was about cars being broken into in the city of Chicago. Now, here's the thing. Oftentimes, crimes, and I mean crimes, don't get reported. For every single crime that gets reported, there's always at least 3 or 4 more, especially in a bigger city, maybe even more than that, that do not get reported. Of course, you know, breaking into cars, that's where it doesn't seem like that big of a deal. And you're probably thinking to yourself, well, why in the world would you bring this up? Well, the point is this right here. People are starting to get numb to the actual crime in the area. People are starting to get numb to the actual, let's just say, the evils of the world. I talked about this in the Stephen Colbert video that I released earlier today. Of course, I'm making these videos on Sunday and releasing them on Monday. But the thing is this right here. One of the things that Colbert said in his little meltdown was that people were getting numb. And of course, it's not just getting numb to the news cycle, not just getting numb to the current, let's just say, situation involving the former president, the current president. At the end of the day, people just only care about their money and the ability to make money. But still, though, in a lot of these areas, especially like Chicago and New York, where crime is absolutely rampant, certain people, let's just say people who've still got their heads in place, they realize that there's a risk to ending this type of technology from being in the city of Chicago, especially given the fact that there are not as many police to actually patrol the areas or the regions of South Chicago, especially the Woodlawn area, especially a lot of the areas where even migrants are at. Don't worry, we'll be talking about a lot. We talk about a lot this week, especially when it comes to New York, because we got some crazy stuff coming out there. But I want you to pay very close attention to this guy when he actually talks about the issue involving the car situation. Pay attention.
It's unfortunate, but it could be worse, I guess.
Has this happened to you before?
This is the second time it's happened, yeah. Yeah, the last time was in August.
Let's run that one more time.
It's unfortunate, but it could be worse, I guess.
Has this happened to you before?
This is the second time it's happened, yeah. Yeah, the last time was in August.
The second time, well, the first time it was like, you know, dude, you mean to tell me that you're not like calling the police or anything anytime your vehicle gets broken? I mean, maybe his insurance will cover it. But still at the same time, though, after a while, the insurance companies are probably going to say, dude, you know, you need to call the cops. Maybe we're not going to cover this. Maybe there's something in the contract that says we ain't got to cover it. The point that I'm trying to make is this right here. After a while, certain people, and I mean these people, after a while, they begin to get numb to what's going on outside. After a while, they begin to not care anymore about their own lives. They begin not to care anymore about their own property, and with inflation going through the roof, you're not going to be able to replace said property without actually going broke. People are already going broke just the way that it is, but I'm pretty sure you guys are actually picking up on what I'm saying. Now, I want you guys to take a second and actually imagine, just for a very, very quick second, what happens when people get shot or you hear gunshots in a certain neighborhood and nobody actually reports it. Before we get to this news report, I want to go ahead and give you guys a bit of an example of what I mean, okay? I lived in an area in a small town, of course. You know, it's a town, of course. I'm not going to tell you what town it was, but I do tell you guys what state I live in. I live in North Carolina. Of course, North Carolina is a pretty daggone diverse state. It's a lot more diverse than people might would give it credit for. Of course, if you go somewhere like Texas, you're probably going to have a much, much higher Hispanic population than you are a black population. But in North Carolina, you're definitely going to have a much, much higher black population than you are a Hispanic population. Same thing with Virginia, same thing out throughout the entire deep South, especially the Southeast. Now, the reason why I'm bringing this up is because there are some neighborhoods that you will see that, quite frankly, are a little bit more cosmopolitan than some people might want to say. What I mean by that is that you'll find some neighborhoods that are old neighborhoods where you have a few old white people who live in these areas. And of course, the area has been, for the most part, I would say it's been reoccupied by those people of color. Black people, of course, they move into these areas. And next thing you know, the neighborhood's got like an 85% black population. Not exactly uncommon. My grandmother lived in one of those areas. And of course, my father also lived there as well. And on hard times, I had to kind of move in with these guys for a little bit. So every now and again, my father would go out back. And of course, these are people he actually sold insurance to because, as I've said on several occasions, I do actually speak to people of color all the time. They even live in my neighborhood now. Now, of course, my neighborhood's a little bit more 60-40, 50-50. And of course, there's also Hispanic, also a bit of a Hispanic mix as well. But still, though, at the same time, though, I live in a much, much smaller town, nowhere near as big as Chicago. But here's the point I'm trying to make. Sometimes people will go in the backyard and they'll just start firing off a weapon just to be doing it. This right here has happened before, and of course people don't call the cops or anything because they're not shooting at anybody. But this right here is in a small town, the southeastern portion of the United States. Now, the thing that I want to go ahead and get out here is this here. This right here is different than what it is in Chicago. Chicago is the murder capital of the country. So therefore, this type of technology would definitely be needed. And what I mean that it needs to be needed is it's possible that you could be having 4 or 5 shootings a night that are not getting reported. That right there is the problem. So it could be 4 or 5 people getting killed, could be 10 or 11. I mean, last I checked, mass shootings are more than 2 to 3 people who get killed. It's not just shootings that occur with AR-15.
Is pulling the plug on ShotSpotter. It's the controversial technology that is supposed to alert police to gunfire.
Nate Rogers reports that decision may be almost as controversial as the program itself.
Even on the campaign trail, Mayor Brandon Johnson said that he would remove ShotSpotter from the city's budget. Critics say that the service is unreliable and leads to unconstitutional policing. Others, including police officers, say that it's a reliable resource, especially in underserved communities where the code of silence still maintains.
35 cities have already said this technology is unreliable.
In September, right after the DNC in Chicago, ShotSpotter will end. The technology alerts police in real time to locations where gunshots were fired.
I feel it is very disrespectful of the mayor to make a decision like this without even getting the input of the community.
This right here is just dumb for a multitude of reasons, but there is an update on this right here that we're going to get to towards the end of the video when we talk about the overall, let's just say overall outcome of this entire situation, but we'll get there in a second. I'll get to the community and the DNC portion more towards the end of the video, but for the time being, let's go ahead and move on.
In place since 2018, ShotSpotter costs Chicagoans about $8 million annually. City council members speaking in Inglewood today outraged by the mayor's decision not to renew the contract, saying with the department down more than 2,000 officers, many residents are not calling police.
We're here to tell the mayor that he's wrong, that he needs to change his decision and listen to the community.
Black and brown communities hear gunshots all the time. There are some communities are immune to it. So therefore, sometimes people just don't call the police. ShotSpotter saves lives. Why? Because the police will still respond to that call.
On the other side, several cities have rejected ShotSpotter because of inaccuracies and red flags.
What the Inspector General's report found is that the police enter every single situation with a ShotSpotter report, guns blazing, because they think that there's shots being fired in that moment. And in the case of Adam Toledo, what occurred is it led to that little boy, that 13-year-old boy, being shot and killed.
This guy right here at the very end who basically is saying, look, maybe we should get rid of this technology because of, the 13-year-old boy. First and foremost, nobody wants to see a child get injured. Nobody wants to see a child get hurt. And nobody wants to see a child get killed. But I got to be realistic with you. The city of Chicago, kids are getting killed all the time. Same thing with the city of New York, and the same thing as the city of Los Angeles, the big cities of America, the blue cities of America. The places that have extremely hardcore gun control laws, but there's a mass shooting like literally every hour. I think that ShotSpotter technology would definitely be useful in this situation. But as you guys may have already heard, they're going to be keeping the technology around until September the 22nd. The reason why, of course, is because Democrats are coming to town for the Democratic National Convention. I can only imagine how chaotic the situation is going to be. But as I may have mentioned before, we're going to get to that towards the end of the video because obviously there has been a shift that's been going on in the city of Chicago. The fact that the people in the city of Chicago, the aldermen, of course, this alderman here that you just saw at the very, very end there, obviously his brain is gone. He's not really thinking about things. This also lets you know that these people are not living in reality. Whereas the people who live in South Chicago, Southwest Chicago, the extremely bad districts of the city of Chicago, they are living in reality because they understand that certain incidents don't get reported. And what I mean by they don't get reported is that people just don't call because it's become normal. However, just because it may be normal for 2 or 3 people does not mean it's not normal for an additional 2 or 3 people. Some people can't leave, some people can't move, some people can't get out of these areas because of their money situation. Also, not to mention the fact that they're trying to work, and yet they may have to rely on a hand up, which of course is being given to the migrants who also at the same time are being put up in hotels and separate shelters. We've done several videos on this, as you guys can see, that the people of color, black people in particular, they're the ones that are hurting the most from this, just like they were hurting the most when it came to defund the police. But there's more.
Part, quote, law enforcement and community safety stakeholders will assess tools and programs that effectively increase both safety and trust and issue recommendations to that effect. Former top cop Gary McCarthy also not a fan of the decision.
I think it's a bad decision as far as catching bad guys and preventing somebody else from getting shot.
Now, we must add, in the case of Adam Toledo, a gun was found in his possession. Also, the police board ordered an officer involved to be disciplined. And now the last day for ShotSpotter is September 22nd. Until then, aldermen in Inglewood today telling us that they will work to win majority city council support to overturn the mayor's plans.
Basically, this right here is just a bad idea all the way around. But there is something that I do need to say, and there is an update on this situation. Apparently, the mayor, Brandon Johnson, the true believer, the true believing mayor, the one that absolutely believes in all this wokeness, because, of course, as I've told you guys on several occasions, Lori Lightfoot was just extremely ineffective. She didn't really and truly believe in the wokeness. She just did it for votes. Apparently, the city of Chicago, the contract on this, apparently what Mayor Brandon Johnson's been wanting to do has been rejected.
On Tuesday, Mayor Brandon Johnson said he would give the technology company a 6-month extension, but end the deal after the Democratic National Convention.
Now, late today, multiple sources tell NBC5 ShotSpotter has rejected the city's offer with that extension. So where does it all stand? Let's go to our political reporter, Marianne Ahern. She's joining us now with the very latest. Marianne?
Allison and Stefan, busy afternoon. City Hall has not responded to our repeated calls today. However, several aldermen have spoken with those tied to Sound Thinking, the company that now owns ShotSpotter. Those aldermen are concerned the company will turn off the technology Friday since there's no deal in place. ShotSpotter alerts police departments to gunshots fired through acoustic sensors. That company took a stock hit Tuesday after Mayor Brandon Johnson announced he would fulfill a campaign promise and give the company a 6-month extension, but then not renew their deal. The mayor's announcement before he had a deal signed with the company.
The city has lost all its leverage when you make an announcement that you're canceling ShotSpotter and extending it until September without having a signed contract.
Likewise, Alderman Chris Taliaferro is also concerned.
It is a great loss for the city of Chicago, particularly as we prepare to go into the summer months and as we go into a Democratic National Convention already with a police department that is undersized by at least.
So it looks like the city of Chicago may have been bought a little bit of time, meaning that this right here from what you guys just saw is probably going to turn into a fight. Now, let's go back to what I was saying before and the overall end game, or what the hell is probably going to happen, especially as far as the Democratic National Convention is concerned, because I think this right here is the most important thing. So Mayor Brandon Johnson wants it gone after September the 22nd. Of course, there's going to be a problem with ShotSpotter and the contract itself. We'll get to that probably when it comes out in September of this year, because don't worry, it's an election year and we're going to be here every single day doing content. Of course, this will also include the video essays I plan on putting out too. But the thing is this right here. The city of Chicago is experiencing a bit of a political shift. We've talked about the migration problem. We've talked about migrants getting benefits where those who actually live in the city, those who are actually of color, are not getting said benefits. And of course, the same people of color are also suffering the most due to the fact that defund the police has hit the city of Chicago the most. You're already undermanned. You already can't cover everybody. And of course, this Daily Mail article comes out basically saying that aldermen are seeing a purple shift in the city. Well, I wonder why that right there may be the issue. Now, guys, I'm going to leave this video right here in the description box from Benny Johnson. Not really a big-time fan of his, but I'm going to leave it in the description box because he actually went a little bit more thorough on it. But I'm basically going to paraphrase exactly what was said. The aldermen who live in the area, the aldermen who are there actually dealing in Chicago, and of course, if you don't know what an alderman is, an alderman is basically a neighborhood politician and a representative. That's basically what they are. They are saying that they are noticing that the Democratic Party is losing votes in these areas. By the way, the vast majority of these aldermen are Democrats themselves. So if they're losing their own voters, then obviously this right here is a problem, and it's not just in the city of Chicago, it's also statewide. Now, guys, one of the videos that I plan on making this week is about black-on-black crime, and of course, the clip that went viral this past week of Benjamin Crump, Al Sharpton, and just about every other figure going viral for saying that they've got the answer to crime in the country, but then again, at the same time, these same people have made a living off of race hoaxes and crime itself. Fact of the matter is, people are starting to see through the BS, and just like I said, when it came to the Stephen Colbert video, people are starting to realize that at the end of the day, the propaganda is just not working anymore. The city of Chicago is a city that wanted to defund the police. It is a city that not only wanted to defund the police, they also wanted ShotSpotter technology gone. There were people, activists actually, who wanted this very gotten rid of. As a matter of fact, it's almost as if to say that Mayor Brandon Johnson is very, very much on the side of the gangs here. The same gangs, by the way, that target black people in particular. Yeah, it seems to me that Brandon Johnson obviously chose the criminals over the people who live in the city. Now, I'd love to say that this is just some nefarious stuff, which, by the way, it is. But at the same time, though, Brandon Johnson really and truly is that blah. He really and truly is that much of a true believer. He really and truly does believe very, very much in everything that's going on in the city of Chicago as far as the criminals. Of course, he sides with the criminals every time, says that they're all scholars, all that type of stuff. They're hungry, even though they're rioting and stealing food. And as you guys can obviously see, lesser communities are the ones who are being affected by this. This right here has got to be absolutely the dumbest thing I've ever seen. And what makes the situation a lot worse is now he's saying, look, we're going to leave it in place until the Democratic Party, they leave town at the end of the month of September. Fascinating how bad this is. But if you live in Chicago, I want you to know right now, if you voted for this nonsense, and remember, Brandon Johnson only got elected about 3 points, you kind of did this to yourself. I feel bad for you, but still at the same time, though, if you can admit the mistake, learn from the mistake, and actually then turn right back around and not only learn from the mistake, but also at the exact same time actually correct the mistake next cycle, then I can work with you. It makes you almost wonder if there's a recall effort coming in, but we'll probably talk about that if that ever happens. Guys, please tell me what you think in the comment section. Please hit the like button, subscribe, share the video, sound off in the comment section. I would love to hear what you guys have got to say, and I'll see you guys later.